There is no doubt that the best path to skating through life, to enduring life, to succeeding in life is to change one's perspective, to change one's attitude into a more positive one, to change your perspective on how you see things, how you understand things, what the meaning of life is for you, and what the meaning of every experience is for you. And how you read an experience determines how you live, how you experience life. Every single thing that we go through, we can interpret it whatever way we want. It's just information. Now, barring the ability to change one's perspective or have a more positive attitude, what's the next best thing? It is to see everything that isn't pleasure or happiness as suffering. To see even something like boredom, something like just your everyday average frustration, traffic, having to go through a boring meeting, having to do a school assignment you don't like that's really boring, you know how to do it, but it's really boring. Even the boring things, which is most of life if we don't change our perspective, even all the minute boring things that make up all those moments, that's a kind of suffering. That is a kind of grating dissatisfaction. Lump that together under suffering. Granted, it'll be easy for you to see sadness and despair and physical pain and loss and not achieving your dreams. It's easy to see all of that as suffering. But if we don't accept that, barring changing your perspective or your attitude, if we don't see even all the small things that we don't like as suffering, then it seems like a variety of experiences, a multitude of experiences. Easier to just lump them up into two categories: pleasure and happiness, and suffering. That way it's easier to make it out in the brain. Now, once you've done that, and once you continue to do that, because this is an ongoing evolutionary process, once you do that, and once you take on that understanding and continue forward with that understanding, this is kind of in-between step from changing your perspective. Perhaps you'll never get to having a positive attitude, because realistically, most people don't. Most people don't change their perspective. But this is, believe it or not, this is easier. Tell yourself that it is my privilege to suffer. It is a gift to suffer. It is a privilege to endure, to struggle. It is a privilege to go through all this stuff that I don't want to go through, that I hate. This is a very big part of enlightenment, as an unenlightened person understands it. See, pleasure and suffering, pleasure and pain, pleasure and happiness, suffering and pain, but we'll call it pleasure and pain. Pain is the suffering. There are two sides to the same coin. It's a cliche. Can't have, life is only beautiful because of death. Death and life are the two halves of the same coin. But a huge part of it is realizing that to struggle, to be here, to be going through this, we're here for such a small amount of time. And we are this person. If you believe in reincarnation, which I do, you don't have to. But if you believe in reincarnation, we're this one person for such a short amount of time. If you don't believe in anything, you're atheist at a short amount of time. If you believe in reincarnation, you're still this person for a short amount of time. If you only believe we have this one life, you're this person for a short amount of time. And everything that you go through, you can understand it as acceptable if you don't think that life has to be happiness or pleasurable. If you view everything as a privilege, if you view the struggle as just another part of life rather than something that you have to speed through, but something that you analyze, that you feel, that you suffer through, that you feel every single minute piece of this suffering. And think of that as a privilege because of how little time we have on this earth. And you can also view it as everything that you've gone through has made you. To take out all the suffering, take out all the trauma, take out all the pain, you wouldn't be you. You became this person by suffering all these little sufferings. It was all suffering. If it wasn't pleasure and happiness, it was suffering to various degrees of heat, to various degrees of intensity, to various degrees of trauma. But it was all this suffering made you you. And it made you resilient. Anything that you can endure now is because you endured things in the past. Is because you suffered in the past. All the strength that you have was not because of the pleasure. It was not because of the happiness. It was because of the struggle. It was because of the pain. The pleasure and happiness didn't add to your strength. It didn't add to your character. It was nice memories to look back on. But it didn't etch you into existence as you are now with whatever strengths that you have now. With whatever imperfections, but also whatever abilities you have now, was struggling with inability for a long time. Whatever you can do good, well, or even okay. You didn't get there by not struggling. It is a privilege to struggle. It is a privilege to go through pain. It is a privilege to suffer. And the privilege is to become somebody much stronger, much greater than we were. Pleasure and happiness, they're the other half of the coin, and they're there so that we enjoy life. But if you can learn to enjoy the suffering, to value it as far more intrinsic to who you are right now than the pleasure and happiness, even all the little moments of boredom or frustration, lump that into suffering and pain. But view it as a privilege to become more by bearing it, by enduring it. You may not be one of those people that can completely change your attitude towards something positive. You may not be able to change your perspective completely to view life as it's all good, or happy with the way things are. Most people can't. But this, most people have a good chance at doing. Viewing everything that isn't happiness, pleasure, as suffering, different levels of suffering, and saying, it is my privilege to endure this. It is my privilege to suffer. If you can do that, you become a much stronger individual. And you'll learn to value the things that make you strong and to make you into who you are. And the funny thing is, you will view every little happiness and every little pleasure, because we lump everything else into suffering, every little happiness, every little pleasure. You will value that so much more as well. And you'll be surprised when it comes. And while that may seem a little pessimistic, those little surprises are nice. Those little surprises are like little treats while you endure and become. At any rate, I hope this video was useful. I hope it was helpful. It is my pleasure to suffer. If you can think this, you can move forward and become stronger. At least that's my thoughts on the matter. Like this video, it really helps out the channel. Feel free to leave a comment. If you like this video at all, you can say anything in the comments that helps traffic to the channel. And feel free to share this wherever you like. At any rate, thank you very much for watching, and I hope all of you have a wonderful day.